Okay, welcome back. So we're doing geologic time again, and from watching those 4 videos, what do you think about how old the Earth is? Comments, please. A couple comments. Declan?
I feel like it is older than what I could imagine.
Yeah, that's older than what any of us could imagine. Jack?
The video said it was like 4.6 billion years.
4.6 billion years old. The Earth is old. It's really old, and it's really hard to understand, to wrap yourself around what that means. So I'm going to give you a couple analogies of what a billion is like. For instance, how big is a billion? So let's say that you want to raise $1 billion, a whole $1 billion, okay? And you're going to save your money by putting aside $100 a day. $100 a day. How long do you think it'll take you before you get $1 billion? If you save $100 a day, how long do you think it'll take you before you save $1 billion? I'll take 2 estimates. Polly?
Like centuries?
Maybe a few centuries, maybe a few hundred years. What do you think, Ben?
I honestly gotta say a few decades.
Maybe a few decades, 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay, the actual answer is 23,397 years to save $1 billion. $1 billion is a big number. Now think about this. $1 million's hard to understand. I used to live in Ann Arbor. The big house there, the University of Michigan Stadium, holds about 100,000 people. All right? Any of you ever been to a game there? All right, 100,000 people in the stadium. 10 of those is $1 million. 1,000 of those, tens of those is $1 billion. It's hard to comprehend $1 billion. Here's another way. Let's say your friend wants to count to $1 billion. Could you do it in a lifetime?
No.
How long do you think it'll take you for your friend to count to $1 billion if your friend counts, let's see, pretty fast, just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, about a second per one. How long do you think it'll take? 2 new people. 2 new people. How long?
Maybe like months.
Months to count to $1 billion. Okay. Any other ideas? You already answered, Jack. What do you think, Chloe?
2 days.
2 days. It would take your friend to count to $1 billion 97.1 years.
That sounds
97 years. Tie your line. No time to go to the bathroom. No time to eat. You just count and then you die. If the person wanted to count to 4.6 billion, which is the age of our Earth, it would take her 437 years. One more of these, I think. Last one. Let's say you want to take a 1 billion step hike. You want to walk 1 billion steps. Okay? 1 billion steps.
It'll take a long time.
How many times would you have to walk around the equator of the Earth? If you walked on the equator, how many times around the equator would you be walking? If you take about 2 feet for every step. Ben, what do you think?
I would have to say about 6 times.
6 times. You'd actually be walking 15 times around the equator. So that's a lot. Okay, so that's $1 billion. So geologists have come up with the idea of the geologic time scale. There are 2 of them on the board here. It breaks history down into parts. Who remembers the order of largest sections of time to small? Largest to the small. First one is a 3-letter word. Say it if you know it. Eons, then eras, then periods, then epochs. So we have our eons. Eons are huge periods of time. Eons just means eons and eons and eons. It's long periods of time. These geologic times scales are broken down into the sections. So we have our Cenozoic era, our Mesozoic era, our Paleozoic era. Paleo means really old. Meso means in the middle. Ceno is the present time. We are currently, if the oldest is at the bottom, which era are we in right now? Hang on 1 second, please. I gotta move a few kids. All right, what era are we in? What era? Ben?
The Cenozoic?
Cenozoic era. So you guys have this in front of you, the Cenozoic era. This is just like stratigraphy. The oldest is on the bottom. So what is the first era that we actually see here? It's the, say Paleozoic. Paleozoic era. And in that we had the trilobites, the fish, the land plants, amphibians, and reptiles. Then what was the name of the next era?
Mesozoic.
Mesozoic. That's when we had Pangea breaking up, birds, And we had dinosaurs during this period too. It doesn't say it. We had dinosaurs, mass extinctions, and we had the Cenozoic. Now each of these eras is broken down into periods. How many periods are in the Paleozoic? Count them, please. Count them. How many periods are in the Paleozoic era?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
7. Repeat after me. Cambrian,
Cambrian,
Ordovician, Silurian,
Silurian,
Devonian,
Devonian,
Mississippian,
Mississippian,
Pennsylvanian, Permian. There are 7 periods in the Paleozoic
Do
era.
we need to memorize all these?
No, you don't. You will when you're in college. You will, but you don't have to now. Okay. This geologic timescale not only tells the name of the periods and the eras, it also tells which things are significant about that time. What kinds of life forms were living when they started, and how long ago it started. So let's find out when the Paleozoic era started. Draw our line across here. Here's a number. When did it start?
544
544 what?
billion.
Million years ago. MYA. 540 million years ago. When did the Mesozoic era start? Raise your hand if you know. Ava?
248 million years
248 million years ago. When did, Luke, the Mesozoic era end?
65 million.
65 million years ago. There was a mass extinction. That's when the dinosaurs were killed off. Okay, I'm going to read you some questions. Let's see if you can figure out the answers. Use the one in front of you or the one on the board here. What era came after, or what era followed the Mesozoic era? What era followed the Mesozoic era? Peyton.
The Cenozoic.
The Cenozoic era. Very good. When did the Jurassic period begin? When did the Jurassic period begin? Polly? 213 million years ago. What type of animal appeared during the Devonian period? This one's for you, Edison. What type of animal appeared during the Devonian period?
First amphibian.
The first amphibians. Good. And here's a little math question. It's easy. How many years did the Cretaceous period last? First, you got to find it. How many years did the Cretaceous period last? Jacqueline? Oh, gotta check it, right? Jack?
80 million?
80 million years. Sometimes I'll have kids say 80 years. Is that right?
No.
No, it's 80 million years. You subtract 65 from 145, you get 80. 80 million years. Good. In what period are we living? Now remember, we're at the very top of this thing. In what period were we living? Ben?
We're like in the Holocene epoch.
Okay, that's an epic.
Okay,
I asked you,
yeah.
what period are we living in?
Quaternary.
The Quaternary period, and it would be the Holocene epoch. That is correct. Now, the one thing I did not talk about to you is how long Precambrian time is. I want you to remember that the actual geologic time scale shows 4.6 billion years, correct? This section here only shows a 500 million years. This part here, Precambrian time, is supposed to show 4 billion years. If I were to stretch this out to be to scale, this thing would go down the floor and out to the back of the room into Mrs. Wyman's room. But it can't. So we just compress it like this and just say that Precambrian time was here. But Precambrian time was most of history. On and on and on and on and on and on and on. Keep that. Did you get the idea from the videos
Yeah.
that you watched? Okay.
Long boy.
So, did most of Earth's history occur during the Paleozoic era or during Precambrian time? Who wants to answer that question? Most of the years, most of the history. Maria, I'm going to ask you. Do you think that most of Earth's history occurred here in the Paleozoic era, or most of it occurred during Precambrian time? Precambrian time. Who thinks it's Precambrian time? Who thinks it's the era? Okay. Yeah, this part is only about 250 million years. Precambrian time is 4 billion years. So most of it occurred here. Even though it's smaller on here, it's actually much longer. This is not drawn to scale. Last question I have for you. Is the top of the scale up here younger or older than the bottom?
Younger.
It is younger. So, origin of life way here, right? Then we had our one-celled organisms eventually, but the Earth was spending a lot of time cooling off. And then things started to happen pretty fast. We end up way up here. Didn't come right to the very, very, very end. Here's another geologic scale right here, time scale. Just different colors. How are they different besides colors? Anything? There's a big difference between this geologic time scale and this geologic time scale. Yes.
They don't have like that much of numbers like that one does. It only has like the.
Okay, it has fewer numbers. It doesn't break down the periods. It just has the eras. What else?
Like the numbers, it just shows like where it starts.
It tells where it starts. There's another big difference. Another one?
It doesn't list all the animals.
It doesn't list the stuff, right? And by the way, this one actually gives a name to this time, which is Phanerozoic. Phanerozoic time, Precambrian time. Okay, I'm going to stop the video there.